Ladies and gentlemen, the record button has shown that it is recording. So we're back. It's Keeping It Rio once again. I have another amazing episode on tap for us today. And I'd like to introduce my guest today as the #1 rated Atlas rep in the United States. I don't know if that's actually true, but it is my opinion. And since it's my podcast, it counts. So I'd like to welcome Brad Bellamy, the Texas, I don't know the exact territory, but Texas Atlas rep. Brad, welcome to Keeping It Rio. This has been a long time in the making, and I'm glad to have you here today.
Man, I'm super happy to be here. So we've been friends for a long time, and I'm surprised it's been this long since I've been on Keeping It Rio. So,
right. Well, hey, superstars, sometimes you have to wait, and I've been patiently waiting to get the biggest superstar in the industry on the show, and it's happened today on Sunday morning. So thank you for taking time on your Sunday to chat. I haven't seen you in a few months. I had a little adventure of my own, and I literally just got back to Texas. But what's been going on with you? Tell me a little bit about what's happening here in the Texas region with Atlas. Tell me a little bit about, I was going to say, tell me about how you got into this industry, and definitely do that if you'd like. But I kind of jumped the gun and I started getting fired up about what's going on currently. But tell us a little bit about yourself. I guess everybody does need to know that, your history in the industry and how you've gotten to where you are as the #1 rated Atlas rep in the country.
Well, I appreciate the nod and the vote of being #1. So, but my history is, I think, probably similar in a lot of ways to others. I got out of college and wanted to get into sales, and actually that happened, but it didn't last long. I actually got into production, so got into home building for a while, and I was on the production side of things, and really loved that, and just became construction just became a passion, and then that kind of led into getting into the roofing side of things. So my history, I guess my 20-year plus work history has been construction, home building, and roofing. So it's one of those things, like, when you're a kid, you never think you're going to end up in roofing when you look back on it now. So if somebody asks a kid, hey, what do you want to be when you're older? You're like, I want to be in the roofing industry. That's never something that somebody says. But once you get in, you're like, man, this is the best industry. Like, why aren't people thinking of being in the roofing industry? So, so it's pretty cool. And I feel pretty lucky to be in the spot that I'm at, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Same thing with me. I get into the industry on accident. I was having a bad day one day. I just happened to pull into a roofing supply company, and 25 years later, here we are chatting about how the roofing industry is awesome and how we're so glad to have been in it. But I think that's the way most of the quality people get in, is we just kind of stumble into it on accident. I've tried to get out a time or two, and it just keeps dragging me back in. And I'm thankful for that, because there's nothing like it. There's nobody in the industry that I don't learn something from on a daily basis, good, bad, right, wrong, indifferent. You get to network and meet some of the craziest people in the world. So I absolutely love it. You have been the rep here since I've been in San Antonio. You were one of the first ones that came in and visited me when I got here. And we got on board with Atlas immediately because I had a history. I've been an Atlas advocate for, golly, I guess like 20 years now, or close to, somewhere in that range. And I was super excited. And the thing that really impressed me right off the bat about you was just your energy and the way that you really loved what you were doing. So you have to stop and think, okay, I work with reps for all different types of manufacturers, and not all of them are as excited to be part of what they're doing as Brad is. What is it about Atlas that makes you, have that extra passion about it, really go the extra mile? Because you're known throughout the industry, at least here in this region. I mean, I was down in Florida telling people how big of a badass you were a couple weeks ago. But people here know, if you need something, you can call this guy. He'll bring a sample board to your house Saturday afternoon. He'll drop off shingles at job sites. He'll do whatever needs to be done. And not all of them are like that. So what is it that gives you that spark? What about Atlas makes you want to just go out there and just absolutely outperform everybody else in your market?
Well, I think it's kind of a balance on two ways. One, Atlas and the culture from day one that I got in with Atlas has been phenomenal, like best culture as far as a company. Now, granted, as a territory manager out here and I cover Central Texas, yeah, I'm kind of on an island. You know, my next coworker is in Houston or DFW, so you know I don't have that office, you know, buddy or anything like that. So I office from home, so it yeah. So I am kind of on an island in a sense, but I think what Atlas has done is created this culture that is, uh, you know, it's very it's just easy to grab onto. I mean, it was so welcoming when I came on, and then just the energy from top to bottom. I mean, and you know some of that energy, you know, so that we have, and we just have some great people and great places that are passionate about what they're doing, and it's not just about. I say this because we're in sales, but it's not just about sales, you know, and I think that's what thing that's really resonated with me is I've never been one to be just 100% sales guy. And so I've always wanted to be someone who helps people. Like my passion is, and I found this out from coaching my son's soccer teams all over the years, is that I love coaching. And so I started taking a lot of that mentality of coaching, you know, from coaching these 7-year-old kids to play soccer. And I was like, all right, what if I just take this same enthusiasm and mentality and just put it into my everyday job of like trying to help companies improve their process with product and teach them way to leverage that product in the sales process to, you know, to better themselves and their, you know, from their pocketbook to not just that, but you're providing a better product and experience for the customer, for the homeowner. And that's ultimately what we're all here to do. And so that's kind of what you know, taking a lot of that, you know, that's driven me into, I guess, the mentality that I have. So I'm not looking, and again, sometimes this may be viewed differently. I'm not looking to be number one today. Like I don't have to go sell, you know, everybody on my product today. This is a thing. So, you know, I'm planting seeds every day. And the way I do that, I got to go back and I got to water those seeds too. But the way I'm planting those seeds is that's me. So, that's my commitment. That's my, ultimately, that's my job, is to make doing what's best for that customer right in front of me. And so some things I may say to you in the may be different than what I say to somebody else because they're geared and driven towards something else. And I just want to be a piece of their puzzle that makes them tick and grow in their company. That's ultimately my goal. So
yeah, and I'll tell you what, it shines through every interaction that we have, and that's what really does separate you from everybody else. It's like he just cares, and it's not about, you know, what have you done for me lately? What are you doing for me today? How much are you spending with me? But the truth of the matter is, that's how you develop the loyalty. That's why when I say, you know, what roof would I put on my own house? It's always going to be Atlas, because not just the product, I've seen it evolve over the last 20 plus years from being, you know, not considered one of the top products to now universally, basically across the board. If you put a post out and say, what's the best shingle? Atlas is going to get a nice chunk of that vote for being a premium brand. So I've seen that evolution. I understand that Atlas has always listened to their contractors. And I think that's really what separates that entire organization. And like you said, just the energy. You were telling me a funny story a while ago, and this is one that you may not have been prepared to tell today, but you were talking about when you were interviewing for your job at Atlas, right? And you go and you're getting ready to do your interview, and you're going to be meeting your soon-to-be boss, Stan. And I mentioned Stan lovingly because I've got Brutus Buckeye back here. And the thing that's so cool about Stan is you can just tell, like, he's a guy that hasn't changed at all over the course of his life. He's just kind of stayed the same likable, energetic, just this guy. When he was on my podcast, he told me that he started as a temp from a temp agency, and, you know, he worked his way to the VP of sales for Atlas. So very unassuming, very humble guy, right? But you're getting ready to go have a meeting with the VP of sales. And this is a life-changing opportunity for Brad, your family, you know, everything is at stake. you're outside, you're you know, waiting on someone to come pulling up in like a brand new sports car, or a limousine, or you know, something. And here comes your boy Stan. And tell me about your impression when you saw Stan rolling up and what he was rolling up in, because I think it really personifies who he is as a person.
Well, at that time, he was, I think, head of marketing, if I believe. And so, so part of the interview process, you meet with so many key individuals within Atlas. And the last person I was meeting with that day was Stan. And I had heard all these good things about Stan, hadn't met him yet, and that he was kind of the up and coming rock star in the company and everything. And he was a younger guy and just really, I mean, just every role he got into, he crushed it. Like he was just doing an amazing job everywhere. And he's, and once I met him, I was like, man, this is the guy, like this is the rock star guy. And he was so humble, just so down to earth, kind of like what you were saying. And we had, I went in his office. Unfortunately, he had a lot of Michigan blue in his office. But
Poor guy.
But so we didn't stay in there long. He was like, hey, let's go to lunch. And so we left the office, we go down the parking garage, and we get, and I'm thinking head of marketing, but I don't know, big company. I don't know what I'm expecting. Of course it's an interview. I'm in a suit, so, and so we get in, and I can't remember what kind of car he had, but I want to say it was like this maroon car, and it was probably something, I don't know. He may have still had it like since college or something. I don't know. Like he was just very humble. It's just not important to him, and so we get in the car, and he moves some stuff out of the front seat so I can sit there, and we get in and we go to lunch, and it was like, having lunch with a friend I hadn't seen in years. And so, he's just so humble and down to earth. And so I think now that he's driving the force for sales for Atlas, it's pretty awesome to have him. And that mentality, it trickles down, and, and just that, hey, we're just here to do a good job. We're here to have enthusiasm. We're here to do, what's best for our customers, and go be the best that we can be. I mean, that's ultimately what we're trying to do. So.
Yeah. And it shines through, like you say, from the very top all the way down. Everybody feels that energy. And it's so cool because you just know that guy is just who he is. You're not going to get anything different. I saw Stan at, I guess it was, where did I see him last? But he had this like really sweet mustache thing going on. And it was just like, dude, nobody else could make that work. But for some reason that like looks really cool on this guy. So props to you, Stan. I do owe you something, and I'll pay you eventually. I've got a shirt in here. It's going to look good when I finally unveil it to the public. I can only wear it one time because quite confident it's going to rip when I put it on. But that's part of the mindset that they have over at Atlas. I have a running football bet with the VP of sales. So you guys make everybody feel like you're part of a family. You guys, like I said, really take the input of the contractors seriously, and then apply what you're giving back, right? And we've all been in this deal for a long time. And I always remember maybe back in 2010 or 2011, it was Stephanie Daniels, who was still very prominent with Atlas. She came to my office in North Carolina, and there were some problems that were going on at that point. It was before the Scotchgard deal, and like, there were just issues, right? And what I really admired was like, she came there and she was just going around asking contractors, asking suppliers for their input. And it was crazy because like 5 of the things that I mentioned in that meeting have absolutely changed over the course of time at Atlas. And it was like, I'm sure I wasn't the only one that said that the bundles were, sized weird or anything, but everything got resolved. Everything got better. Everything got fixed. I think the mindset of just always wanting to continue to improve, like you said, is huge. And that brings me to the next thing. So Atlas got with Scotchgard. I guess that was back in like 2010 or 2011. It's been a while now, and has grown the shingle brand, has brought the HP 42, has done all the improvements. But this year, it seems like Atlas has even taken like a bigger step forward than they normally do with some of the new things that have come out. And I've kind of been out of that realm here for this year for the last couple months. But tell me a little bit about some of the new stuff that Atlas brought out. I know there's a whole new line. The pinnacles have, even improved more. So what's going on with that? And, if someone's looking to try Atlas out for the first time, what are some of the benefits they're going to get from it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first thing, I'm going to kind of back up just a little bit because, you know, the way we look at things as a product, and this is, and I say we because, and granted, I've been with Atlas for about 6.5 years, but I say we because this is the way it's, you know, when you're saying that change when we went from, you know, a non-Scotchgard shingle to a Scotchgard shingle back in 2010, 2011, and we changed things a lot. Like we moved over from a different go-to-market strategy, and from that point forward, we really went to a more, how can we add value into a product? And so, and since then, it has been ever evolving to create a better product out of a product that's considered a commodity, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that say a shingle's a shingle, right? As long as it doesn't leak, hey, you're good. Well, what if we could put more value in it? It's just like saying, you know, a tire's a tire. Well, not necessarily. I mean, you need it to perform for what type of, you know, what you're going to use it for. Are you just going to be highway miles? You're going to do off-road miles? What are you doing? So these are the things like we started looking at, and how can we better provide a product, not only one to provide a lot of value in the sales process for the homeowner and provide value for the home, but also, is there a benefit for the contractor? Is there a benefit for the distributor? So like if it meets all these key requirements, then I mean, that's something we need to initiate into our product in the process. And so yes, so kind of catching back up to where we are now. So, you know, we've had Scotchgard over the years, and that's been a phenomenal, value added product into our shingle with the lifetime protection against black stains caused by algae. But now we've added a couple new shingles to our Pinnacle family. And so now we not only have our Pinnacle Pristine, which has been our flagship shingle, we now have our Pinnacle Impact, which is a class 4 impact rated shingle. And then we also have Pinnacle Sun, which is a cool roof product. And so now we have a Pinnacle family of products that allows a wide variety of options for a homeowner to choose from and for a contractor to offer. And I really think staying in that Pinnacle family, I mean, you can't go wrong. You know, if you're just presenting these 3 products, you kind of cover every bit of it. You know, Pinnacle Impact, and then also too, we just recently upgraded our Pinnacle Pristine shingle to a class 3 IR. So now you have Pinnacle Pristine with a class 3 impact resistant shingle with Scotchgard protection, that HB 442 technology. So it's the largest shingle on the market. So 8 less shingles per square to install. For all of our Pinnacle shingles, all of our architecturals are all 4.0 130 minimum right out of the bundle. So then you move to Pinnacle Impact, and actually, if you look on our chart, we might have Pinnacle Sun before Impact, but I'm going to put Pinnacle Sun in the middle here. And Pinnacle Sun is, man, this product I am more fired up about than anything. I just came from some regional meetings last week, and like I was just passionate about this product, just about what I think the industry could do with this product, because it's a cool roof product at a great price point. It's class 3 impact resistant. So how it's a cool roof product, has reflective granules in it, so it takes the UV rays and reflects it back off. So that heat transfer through the shingle into the decking doesn't happen. So it's not going to transfer in. So it's going to keep your attic much cooler. So 20 to 30 degrees cooler is what we found in our testing. So in our hot or anywhere really in the South, I mean, if you can keep your attic 20 degrees cooler, now your AC is not working as hard. That comfort level in your home is much better. I've already talked to contractors that have been putting it on, and they've had customers that have told them, man, I could never get my home below 78 degrees during the day on a hot summer day. And since I put it on 2 months ago, I've been able to get my home down to 75, 76, no problem during the day. And so it's just increased that comfort level in the home. It may or may not have, utility cost savings. Some may. It just depends on how that's subjective to the homeowner and their usage. But what's the value of comfort level. So if I'm still paying $300 a month, but my home is much more comfortable, that's amazing. On top of Pinnacle Sun providing that, it's also Scotch Guard, which I think I mentioned, but it's now a Class 3 IR as well. So that's amazing. And then the last thing it has is it has a 3M smog reducing granule. So it grabs that smog out of the air, converts it to a nitrate. So it's like a salt. And as it rains, it washes off. So, so that's a pretty cool product that can be used in the sales process and add some more benefit too. So, Pinnacle Impact, as we jump to that being a Class 4 IR, having Scotch Guard and a 3M smog reducing granule as well. So those are kind of the new things that we just came out with. Pinnacle Sun, Pinnacle Impact. I think Pinnacle Sun, like I said, I'm fired up for. I think that's got everything. So it's a pretty amazing product.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't even I'm excited about it, right? And I'm not doing roofing right now. I'm hopefully getting back into it here relatively quickly, but that's got me fired up because I'm thinking, okay, you can go in now, like you said, you've got your good, better, best. It's right here. Here's your 3 quotes. Here's your options to choose from, and you're going to get the best of the best regardless. And the fact that Pinnacle is now a Class 3 is awesome to me. I didn't even realize that. I mean, it already sold itself based on everything that you guys had, but just wow, that separates from everybody else in the industry as far as I'm concerned. And I just I'm so happy to see that, because more and more I'm seeing Atlas roofs going up all over the place. I know even as recently as when I got here in 2019, there were people at the supply houses that were like, you're the only one that's doing Atlas right now. You're the only one. In College Station especially, I was the only that was doing Atlas. But now I look around and I see these guys doing their Facebook videos, and I see posts, and I see all this stuff, and I'm seeing a lot more Atlas going up all over the place. So tell me about that, Brad. You came in and you kind of had to build this thing up. Like you said, it's been long-term. It wasn't like trying to go in and sell every single person on your first visit, but it was building relationships. And you've turned the market over here to, a pretty major chunk of it. I don't know the specifics, but way more than what it was years ago. So how has that been? How have the contractors been as far as, receptiveness to you coming in and saying, look, maybe you've been using this other brand for years, but because of this, and this, and this, and this, because you've got so many of those things, why don't you give me a shot? And then you get your foot in the door, and it's like you're building those long-term relationships just off of that. But how's that dynamic been for you over the years, and how do you go about finding people that you think are a good fit?
Yeah, absolutely. When I started 6.5 years ago, I had 0 stocking distributors in my market. We had some product coming in, but I wouldn't consider it like stocking a full line of products, from shingles to accessories. It was basically a ground up deal. And now we're stocked at predominantly all the distributors in the market. So it's been really good. I think it was tough in the beginning, and it's trying to get distribution to bring in the product and create that demand from the contractor side. So it's kind of a little give and take. You got to create that relationship with the distributor to where they know you're out there working the market, and they're gonna know that, all right, if I bring in this product, not only I need to lean and leverage the marketing or the manufacturer's rep, Atlas, me, to go find that business, and bring that business to move that product. We don't want that sitting there. And so there was definitely building those relationships of distribution, as well as finding those contractors, because there were times where I would sell a contractor and then they're trying to order it and they had some difficulty. So, those first, as I first got in the role, but we're past that, way past that now. It's readily available. Which is really good. As far as contractors, targeting contractors, I would say it's really about a fit. I think ultimately a majority of contractors, they're wanting to provide a good, contractors want to provide a good service and good quality install for their customers. That's easy. I think, one thing that I always lean on too is I always ask them, well, all right, well, I always ask a contractor, like, well, tell me about yourself, tell me about your company, and and in general, I kind of hit them off. I kind of it's a question they're not sometimes prepared for, and so it's like, well, I just want to provide a good quality install. I want to provide good service to my customers, and make sure that they're happy, And I'm like, all right, well, that's great. How are you focusing on? How are you adding product into that? Because yes, we're just a piece of the puzzle. We're not the whole thing. You shouldn't be leaning on product as the prime source of sales, nor should you be leaning on, a just your service as prime source of sales. It's a combination of everything, right? We got to put it all together, so we have no no hurdles for that homeowner, right? So how are you leveraging your product in the sales process to bring more value? You're talking about the value of your install, the value of your service that you're going to provide. Well, are you talking about the quality of products that you're going to put on? Are you committing to certain products for that homeowner that you're going to put on? So what are you doing to make that commitment to that homeowner? Because they're going to make a big commitment to you by signing that contract. And so, and then when I ask them what products they use, how do you use that? What selling features do you like about that? And so I'll get a mixed bag of information on that. So I kind of use that, and then that tells me what they're using their product as, and I can then steer my process to make sure that I'm servicing what they need, or if they're not using it, not really using product as a value added, component of their company, then let me show you how that can be done. So let's provide value in that sales process. And it doesn't take much. We don't have to have a 30-minute presentation with the homeowner, as like telling all about product and the ins and outs. You're just going to see deer in the headlights. So, but can you rattle off 60, 90 seconds of some quick product information that can add value? That's what we want. And so those are the things like I try to help with there. So it's usually everybody's pretty receptive of that. So
I love it. Yeah, and it's the way you bring it to them too. I mean, there are reps in this market that I won't even listen to because they don't bring any kind of energy and they don't really believe in what they're doing. You can sense the belief, and therefore it's like, hey man, if this guy believes in it to this level, I'm going to believe in it too, because that's infectious. So I definitely respect that. I guess the next question kind of ties in with that whole deal about taking over market share and putting yourself in more places. Historically with me, I was in Charlotte, North Carolina. We were an Atlas distributor for several years there. Never really had any major issues as far as like allocation or anything, even though there were some storms, because I think that at that point, production was maybe a little bit ahead of what sales were, or, y'all were getting ready to explode, but hadn't quite gotten there. As it continues to grow, as the brand starts to get into more markets, there's going to be more hailstorms, there's going to be more hurricanes, there's going to be all those things. How has Atlas been able to maintain the ability to stay ahead of that? Is it, relatively speaking, obviously it's going to happen at some point because of just the nature of the beast and the number of people that get affected. But production wise, what kind of steps has Atlas taken to be able to maintain that and to, be able to offer the best product, the best service, and also say, we're going to be able to get it to you in a reasonable amount of time while the others are having you wait 6 months?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Demand is high right now. I mean, with all the storms and new construction over the years. I mean, as much as new construction may be struggling in some markets, there's other markets where it's still very steady. It may be down from last year, but it's still pretty strong. San Antonio being one. There's still a good amount of new construction going on in San Antonio right now. So, what we've done over the years is not only improve our processes for production, but also we added a laminate line to our Ardmore plant in Oklahoma. So to increase our capacity for laminates for certain markets, we're adding a new plant in Iowa as well. So that's been a pretty big deal. So We're going to have a new plant in a couple years that's going to be it's going to be our largest plant, and it really be able to service the Midwest. Also free up opportunities in other markets, other plants, take some of the pressure off some of the other plants as well. So we can service other markets better. It's going to be phenomenal. So that's going to be a state-of-the-art facility, and being able to produce pretty much all of our products there. And yeah, it's going to be pretty amazing. So I'm looking forward to having that on board, because that benefits us all. So
for sure. And the more availability to the market, the better you're going to be. And
yeah,
the technology, like you said, I can't wait to see this thing, because just the evolution over time has been crazy. And it's like a plant where you can literally produce all of your products it's kind of unheard of, really. You know, most of them have them kind of spread out in different places, and it works, but that's tremendous. And I'm super pumped up for that. I'm going to kind of shift off here. I try to make our episodes be like about an hour or so or less, out of definite respect. It's Sunday. We've been talking for 31 minutes. I have one more industry question, then we'll kind of veer off a little bit. But as a manufacturer rep who gets to go around and visit with contractors all over your region, which is Central Texas, you've got a nice array of personalities to speak with, and people to see various levels of, revenue, success, what have you. What do you hear as that side of the industry, contractors talking about the future of our industry as it pertains to just some of the things that we're seeing? For me, insurance has been absolutely horrible for the last couple of years. I see it continuing to get worse. I see it starting to maybe trend towards like MRP programs and things like that. And I think that, honestly, between us, that they're trying to push a lot of smaller contractors out. With some of the guys that you're talking to, do you hear any concerns about where the industry's headed? Do you see people that are starting to plan maybe 3 to 5 years in advance and figure, okay, maybe I can do this for this amount of time, I better figure out a way to either get into that type of situation, which probably would suck, or get out of the industry altogether? What are you hearing from your contractors as far as the future for the next 3 to 5 in our industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. I see a lot of changes in the next 5 years. I see things going, and this is just all my opinion, but I see going. I see the products getting better. I see probably. I don't think our current situation, insurance having. I guess I don't want to say. Insurance is going to be more, strict and specific on what they're covering, and it's gonna affect our market, and how we go to business. So I think the best thing that we can do, and I say we as contractor, I'm not a contractor, but we as contractors, and we in this side of trying to sell roofs, right? So we're all in this together. So the best way to do that, I think, is to get comfortable with upsells and selling benefits and features. I think there's still a lot of folks in that mindset that are more into, they're not selling those benefits and features, because it's going to come a time where insurance may start reducing coverage, and already has in some markets, and where you're not getting the full coverage of that roof, that homeowner's not getting that full coverage. So what are you doing to compensate for that, as far as bringing value to the table? And I get back to that value thing, because look at it, right? Look at where we are today. So where we are today, like if you go buy a brand new home today, majority of homes right now you're going to feel it's overpriced. So, and you may spend, let's just say, $500,000 on a brand new home. I guarantee you, when I was building homes even 15 years ago, the quality how we were building them, now maybe some of the products have improved since then, but how we were building the specs to build those homes were greater than the specs we're building homes today. And it all it is just we're trying to watch our costs, right? We're trying to maximize margins on our sales. That's what builders are doing. I'm not saying all builders are doing that, but a lot of your production builders are doing that. We built our standard when I was got into construction was all of our exterior walls were 2x6 exterior walls. So with cellulose insulation. Now, I mean, you'd be surprised to find any 2x6 exterior walls. They're all 2x4s. So, a little thing like that, it just costs too much to do 2x6 exterior walls. So there's little things like that. So a 15-year-old home may be built or it may be tight, a little bit more tight than what insulation wise than what a house today may be built, So there's just differences. And so I think where we have to go and where I see things going is obviously there's a change, and we all see it coming. Products are getting more expensive across the board, construction products. So we have to bring value in that process. We have to be okay with providing that extra value to the homeowner. And I think, where was I going with this? Instead of buying that new home right now, if somebody wanted to upgrade their home, it's going to cost a lot. Rates are high, prices of homes are high. So would you, and I think of this as a homeowner, would I rather upgrade my current home that maybe my mortgage is $1,500 a month rather than go buy a brand new home? My mortgage is $3,000 a month, and I can upgrade my home with replacing the roof, spend an extra an extra $2,000 on a roof. That's going to provide, say, reflective properties to keep my attic cooler and my AC working more efficiently. So is that a benefit? Is there other things that I could do construction product wise? I mean, from HVAC systems to whatever. I mean, there's all sorts of types of things. Like, are we going to start? I think you're going to see more of a trend in quality products because people are not wanting to just go buy new and replace their old home. So that's kind of where I see things going. And yeah, insurance is going to kind of dictate a lot of things of what we do moving forward. I mean, that's going to be a thing for sure. So we'll see where that takes us. But I think products are going to go. I think you're going to see more these reflective, like Pinnacle Sun, I think is going to be a driver in the industry. I think there's got to be a way to make shingles. One, we gotta work on waste on shingles. So shingle waste is a problem. So when we tear off all these old roofs, where's that going? So that's definitely something that's going to change, I would think, over the next 5-10 years. And how that's the $1 billion question right there. Somebody can figure that one out, So not just recycling it back into shingles, but using it for something else. I know they've talked about using it as road products, and they have, but this or that. But what are we doing for those? It's still, our landfills are full of shingles, right? So I think that's a $1 billion industry right there that's waiting to pop. So
there's a lot of things that are going to change for sure, and I absolutely love that. I think as far as contracting goes, it's going to have to become like high-end retail, low-end insurance, and I feel like that's the way the insurance carriers are trying to go with it right now. I was talking to a guy in Florida a couple weeks ago, and we were just discussing how insurance works here in Texas. And he's like, well, yeah, but they got that law that says that they have to pay the deductible. And it's like, yeah, but if you really read the law, do you know what it really says? It really says they have to pay the deductible unless the insurance company waives it. And the insurance carriers are allowed to waive that deductible legally within the bill. So now you look at it and you think, well, why would they do that? Oh, because they've got low-end people that are willing to do piecework and do it for pennies on the dollar versus the contractors who are trying to go out, supplement claims, trying to do things the right way. So the natural way to combat that is to say, well, if you go with this guy that, he might suck, but you're going to get the job for free and he's a preferred contractor, or you can go with Brad and Brad's going to give you the best roof, it's going to depend, on who you're trying to focus on. And I think high-end retail is going to be the way to go. Like you said, upgrading, financing options, things like that are going to change the game, but it's definitely changing and it's going to be interesting to see. So I appreciate your input on that because it's a different perspective from a different side of the industry. So thank you for that, my friend. Let's switch it up a little bit. Okay. We got about 15-20 minutes left in our conversation. I want to kind of switch off. We've talked about roofing. We've talked about Atlas. We've talked about Brad being the best in the industry. We've talked about all kinds of great stuff roofing related, but you're a guy too, man. You're like Brad Bellamy. You're father of the year, your husband of the year. I see you on social media constantly, you know, doing things with your family, spending time with the kids. You just talked about coaching a little while ago. Tell us a little bit about what you like to do outside of being the world's greatest Atlas rep, and, you know, what your true motivation in life is that, you know, keeps you getting up and loving what you're doing. Cause you've got some pretty cool hobbies as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So yeah, first off, I mean, my family's everything. So, you know, my kids are 12 and 9. So right now we're in right in the middle of everything that they love to do. And so my son being in soccer and getting to support him in that. I mean, like I said, I coached him for, I don't know, 5, 6 years on a soccer team. We had a great team that all kind of stayed together throughout that. So I had the same core group of kids pretty much the whole time. So it was awesome to be a part of that. And for him to be okay with me, with dad being coach, you know, I think a couple years ago we did get to the point where, you know, one, he was outplaying my soccer expertise, and you know, and then also dad being coach was not probably as cool anymore. And so, you know, so we've transitioned over to like club soccer. So now he's got, you know, some good coaching, and dad can just be dad. So that's been really fun. And so I just get to be his number one fan right now, and that's where I want. That's all I want to be. You know, my daughter, she just got into the cheer and loves it. So getting to see her do her thing and her face light up, you know, so it's really, really cool. It's cool being a cheer dad as well. So, you know, I've never thought I'd learn cheers, but I've learned a few cheers. So, you know, so it's been fun and good. And, you know, so getting to be there and experience all that with them for sure. So, so like, as far as on my hobbies, my personal hobbies, I'm big into cycling. So did triathlons, raced motocross a lot growing up and into my 20s. And so did a lot of that. Once we had my son, had a few crashes that, you know, kind of scared me, and you know, just wasn't didn't think that was the smart idea anymore, and I was starting to hesitate with things. So I kind of got out of motocross, even though that was a blast. It just, you know, just ringing my bell and knocking myself out a few times, just realized that this is probably not the best thing to do when I have a family now that I need to support. So so got into triathlon for a number of years, did quite a bit of triathlons, you know, long course stuff. So I think over the years I did like 2 Ironmans and 15 half Ironmans, plus a number of smaller ones throughout those 10 years or so. And so that was a lot of fun. Now I'm just more into bike racing. Just the swimming and running, it just became not as fun. So, but I've always been on 2 wheels. So having some bikes to go out and ride, that's like my happy place. That's my zen. Bikes are an adventure to me. So every time I get on one and go ride, it's something new. I love to explore and, you know, obviously get the heart rate up and have a little adrenaline. So being on a bike does that. So, and it's been a lot of fun. So I've gotten to do that. So.
Yeah, and we were talking when I was down in Florida. It was crazy. I was doing like jujitsu and like all kinds of crazy stuff. I was working with Lee Haight down there, and Lee is like big time into that stuff, right? And we had some guys in, some professional fighters, and I knew one of them from previous, and they were like the BMF of the roofing world. And I was like, man, I feel like Brad Bellamy is the BMF. Like, you don't have to get in the ring and fight, but like, I have a feeling that your cardio is probably like on the next level. And I thought if Brad came in and tried to do the jujitsu moves on these guys, he'd probably just wear them out and just kind of toy with them a little bit. And then, you know, cinch it in and be like, dude, I rode like 300 miles on my bike to get here. Come on, bro. So I definitely appreciate and I respect that, because I know physical fitness is super important. It's become super important in my life over the last couple of years. I was looking at a picture where, 3 years ago, my face would be taking up this entire screen right now. And just getting out there and being more active and doing stuff, and just, you get to feeling better and you have more energy, and you can operate at a peak, level. So I definitely give you props for that, because I don't know anybody else that's out there doing that. And I love when you post your pictures, because it's like, that dude's not riding around the neighborhood. You're like riding, just did a ride to Albuquerque this morning, I'm on my way back. So I think that's pretty awesome. The last time you and I saw each other in person was probably, I don't know, like maybe 5 months ago, 4 months ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And I actually met you in a parking lot at the gas station over here, and delivered a microphone to you that you were going to get because you were going to start a podcast. And you and I had talked about this podcasting thing a couple times. So I'm putting you on the spot, Brad. I don't know if you've started the podcast yet or not, but what's the status of the Brad podcast? How's everything going with that? Have you made any progress on it?
To be honest, no, I have not.
I
I've not made any progress on it. So you're definitely calling me out, and rightfully so. So I need to get on that. I think I'm just trying to really figure out what exactly I want to do, and I've kind of, in the regard, I think I know the direction I want it to go, and it might have a little podcast-esque, but I want it to be not really roofing. It's not roofing related. It's really just me, and just and fun. And I also want to use it as self-motivation too, to kind of get out there. And I'll even tell you the name of it. So, it's BKT, best known time. So, I want to get
It's real
out,
now. I just want you to know that. You just made it real.
I just made it real. Yeah. It's the best known time. And really what that's about, it's not about, and I know in our industry, it's a lot about results, right? So what I want it to more be geared to is not so much results, but more of the process. I think over the years with riding my bike and racing, because I've been racing for years, and honestly, the racing doesn't hit me like it used to. Like, I don't get as fired up for it as much anymore. What I get it fired up for is the experience. I still love to compete, and I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to throw down and give it everything I got. But man, I love the experience. I love the experience of the training that leads up to it. I love the experience of going and maybe seeing someplace new and getting an experience, new environments, smells, tastes, whatever, whatever that is. I love to experience all that stuff. And to me, like, that's the best known time I can have. So it's not necessarily the results, at the end of the race. It's, man, did I have a blast? And that's my outlet, because, yes, in our everyday 9 to 5, that our deal is go be the best. And yeah, I still have that. It's just, I want to experience it and have the best known time. So that's it. Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
I think that's,
life is about experiences. That's the whole thing. I literally just spent 97 days in Florida. And if I told you the story, you'd be like, well, you know me. So you'd be like, all right, whatever. But I literally got a call on Tuesday, and on Thursday I was landing in Fort Myers, and I was there for 97 days. I didn't have a game plan. I didn't know what I was going to be doing. I just knew there was an opportunity. So I went there, and I had no expectations other than I'm going to learn a bunch and I'm going to have fun. And I'm going to do an episode of the podcast where I describe the entire 97 days and my whole experience, because like, I got to be an MC at a major conference. I got to bring up major people on the stage at the Blue Collar American Dream Conference, like Forrest Griffin, UFC Hall of Famer. Like, my dumbass is up there bringing Forrest Griffin onto the stage, and I'm out there having a good time. And the whole time I'm just thinking, 3 months ago, I would have never guessed that this would have happened, So best known time is definitely about the experiences that we have. And I think that's an amazing idea. I think it's great. I will be your first subscriber as soon as you put that first episode out. And anybody that's watching this is going to probably also do the same. So I got like 67 fans on YouTube, Brad. So you never know. I like to think that there's thousands of them all over the world, but there's 67 that are verified on YouTube. So we'll get it out there to them. And I think it's really cool. It's the hardest thing to do is to do the first episode. Once you do it, it's so easy and it's so much fun. I mean, we're sitting here doing this on Sunday morning just because it's a fun thing to do. So I definitely can appreciate it. I told you at the beginning that I was going to ask you a question at the end, but I wasn't going to tell you what it was because I don't like people to be able to prepare for this. But if you've ever watched my episodes before, I will now know whether you have or not, because it's always the same question. Every person I talk to that's in home services, that's in construction, we've all got some crazy ass stories about some of the people that we've got to meet along the course of our career path, right? And I always say this, there's always one that stands out above everybody else, whether it's the greatest person you've ever been around, whether it's the most inspiring homeowner you've ever met, whether it's the biggest pain in the ass, whether it's the biggest douchebag, no matter what it is, we've all got that one that just always stands out for us. And I always tell the story about when I got kicked out of this guy's house 13 seconds into my presentation. And I ended up not only selling him, but like every one of his neighbors on the street after that happened. So I could tell that story forever. You've been on different sides of the industry. You work with contractors. You've worked with homeowners as a builder. Tell me the one person that you've met in your entire history that you can just look back and you're just always going to say, that's one that I'll always cherish or I'll always despise. Who you got? Chuck over at Rio Blanco Roofing.
Yeah, no, I've heard you ask this question before. Yeah. I've heard you ask this question before. That's a tough one.
And you don't have to mention any names. You don't have to be like, Eric at Texas Family Roofing or anything like that. Shout out to Eric.
Yeah, no issues like that. No. Now I will say Eric is probably the most fun. If you haven't followed Eric on any social media, you should, because he's probably one of the most interesting guys in roofing to follow for sure. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, I could think of, I guess the ones that were tough over the years, and rather than the ones that were good. I'll tell you this. Does it have to be roofing related, or does it have to be work related?
No, not at all. Just the most memorable person. Because I'll tell you one about someone that I never did business with. It was, but yeah, the most memorable thing in your career that just you can't forget, no matter how hard you try, or you don't ever want to.
I'll tell you one that it was probably the first one, and this is before I got in. I was in high school, and this was not work. It's not work related. This is school related. I got into. I was in algebra, and I remember I got in there, and I was actually really good at math, but I was also at that time I was goofing around a lot in school, just not paying attention. I'd rather be the class clown than focus on what was going on. And when I got into this math class, Mrs. Miller is my math teacher, and she failed me that first semester. And I tried everything, and I realized I was going to fail, and it was too late. And I tried doing everything I could to fix that. And I don't know why this is making me think of your question, but it's just, I think it was a good life lesson, because I failed it. I failed the class. I think I got like a 68 or 69 for the semester or whatever. And so because of that, I had to retake it in summer school the following summer. And so I passed the second semester. So I didn't have to retake the second semester, but I had to retake the first semester. And I passed with flying colors. I think I had like a 97 or 98, grade in that. So as long as I applied myself, I was fine. I just was screwing around. And she called me out for it. And she even told me. And I remember, it's funny, like later on in college, I was waiting tables. This group of teachers comes in, and they're all having margaritas. And I look over there and I go, that is Mrs. Miller. That's Miss Miller. She's the one that sent me to summer school. and of course she's having a good time drinking margaritas and everything. But I went over and I told her, I was like, hey, look, you were a tough teacher, and you gave me you gave me a failing grade, and I had to go to summer school. I thanked her for it. I was like, that was the best thing that could have happened to me. I was like, because that told me that I need to focus at what I'm doing at that moment and stop screwing around. And so I mean, she didn't really remember. She remembered me, but she didn't remember that I failed or not. But maybe that was the margaritas. But I
was
don't
gonna
know.
say she
But,
was drunk at that point, so that was good. If you're gonna confront your elementary teacher, your high school teacher, at least make sure they're drinking, so you got some blackmail material.
But she definitely changed me in that way. So I don't know why it's making me think of that, but that's just what's coming up straight out of my head. So it was a good thing, but I can't really think of any. I guess I'll tell you, man. I'm more of a
smooth for you. You're lucky,
It's been pretty smooth for me. I've had those moments. I remember I did have a moment when I was building homes, and I got moved into a neighborhood, and I got moved in there because they were struggling. The guys that were building homes in there just couldn't keep up, and the homes were a mess. And first day in the neighborhood, they're like, hey, you got a meeting with this homeowner. They're supposed to close next week, and you need to do a walkthrough on their home. And so I met that homeowner over there, and this is like back in 2005, 2006, when we couldn't build homes fast enough, right? I mean, you can find people to over the construction. So we were building homes. We had 20, 25, 30 homes under our, in our responsibility, just person to oversee. And I remember walking this home, and this guy was just pissed, and rightfully so. I mean, it had been 8 months since we had started his home. It was a week away from closing, and it wasn't near ready for closing. I mean, it was messed up. There was stuff everywhere, and he ripped me a new one, and it wasn't my fault. And I remember leaving that, and I was like, I'm done. I was like, that's it. I was like, I don't get paid enough for this. I'm quitting. Like, it's just not worth it, It's already just high stress as it was, and then now I'm getting my butt chewed for no reason. But I remember that, and the best thing coming out of almost in tears. It was just because I cared so much, and to feel like I was and I was almost in tears because I just felt that I didn't provide what we expected to this homeowner. And luckily, like, one of my coworkers, rain and tears here, and my boss and one of my coworkers, they both come in, and they got tool belts on and like with drills and all kinds of stuff, and they're like, dude, we're going to town. You take off. So you go back to the office, or you go get some lunch, or go do something. You just get away. We're gonna start knocking some of these punch items out and start getting stuff done. And like, man, I was like, had it not been for that, I probably would have walked out and quit and not come back. But knowing I had a team there to back me up and and help, like, that was cool. That made me come back the next day.
All right. So, and sometimes that's all it takes is just that one moment to damn, I was almost out, but you guys just happened to show up and keep me in it. Thanks. Close. But I definitely love that story, because that's, that is the personification of our whole industry. There's always that one moment where it's like 13 seconds in, I was getting ready to quit the industry, and then I ended up turning the entire thing over. So I love that. Brad, thank you so much for taking your time today. It's Sunday. I appreciate you being on Keepin' It Rio. We're going to meet up and either go play golf or have lunch sometime pretty soon, because I'm back in San Antonio. Plan on being here for the rest of my days, according to my plan. So we'll see what happens. And for everybody that's watching, always appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Every episode, I have people that were coming up to me at the conference talking about, watching episodes from 2 years ago. So I appreciate it very much. The support is very overwhelming. Going to keep doing Keepin' It Rio as long as I possibly can, as long as people say it's cool, and as long as I can continue to get 5-star guests like Brad. So Thank you guys all very much. I appreciate it. Until next time, I always end with the cheesy line, which is keep on keeping it real. We'll see.